Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Norb.
And we are The Watchmen.
The men that watch.
If it's on a screen, we're watching and talking about it with you.
And the movie we want to talk about today is Ford versus Ferrari. This is the story of Carroll Shelby, the car designer who's played by Matt Damon, and driver Ken Miles, played by Christian Bale. And it's the story about the Ford Motor Company's attempt to defeat Ferrari in the big race Le Mans.
I remember when I saw the trailer to this film, expectations are such a part of everything. And watching the trailer, I remember thinking, But then we went and saw it, and what a great movie.
Yeah, it was awesome. I remember we watched this movie together. And what made this extra special was the fact that you and I watched it in a Dolby theater. Now, I don't know if you guys have been in a Dolby theater, but if you haven't been to one, you got to go check it out because it costs a little bit extra, but what you get is a more vivid picture. If you look back, you actually have two projectors instead of one. I assume that all kind of helps to the vividness of everything. The blacks are darker, but what really rocks it, especially in a movie like this, is the sound. The sound system is super loud, but it's not like irritatingly loud. It's just really full and dynamic, and the seats and everything have like subwoofers in them, so it really rumbles. And in a movie like this where you've got car racing action throughout, you really feel the roar of those horses, and the engines going at it, and that just made the experience that much more enjoyable. So that was one thing that really stood out for me in this film.
One of the great things about this movie, and gonna keep it spoiler free as much as I'd love to imitate the scene because it was so darn funny, but there is a scene in the middle of the movie that is a true laugh out loud moment. And laugh out loud moments for me in movies don't come every day. And this part, I was laughing so hard. And then I took my family to see it, and my son during that part was laughing so loud and so hard. I think he created a laugh track in the theater where everybody else in the theater started laughing too, just because my son was laughing so loud, because it was just one of those moments. You have to be there, but I can't say enough about how great that moment was.
Now, I know you're trying to keep this spoil free, right? So you're not trying to say what the scene is now, but I assume it's where a certain individual has an experience.
A certain individual has an experience. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, you have to watch it. You might have seen it. It's in some of the trailers, so it's not completely, a spoiler. But there's definitely, I know it's the scene for me as well, where, you get to. There's a reaction that is just awesome. So, I think what I loved about this movie is, first of all, you got Matt Damon and Christian Bale, and these guys are fantastic actors.
They are pros,
and they're fantastic together. Matt Damon, plays, Carroll Shelby, who's been asked to design and make this car into something that can compete by the Ford company, and he brings on his wild card but awesome driver, Christian Bale. And throughout the movie, there's this constant tension between the motor company, who's trying to control what they do, and these guys trying to say, look, if you want us to win this race, we have to be allowed to build the car we want and put the driver that we want. And there's this constant tension about who gets their way, and that's the fun part of watching this play out as it leads to the big race at the end.
It's typical moments of corporate versus it's like movie studios versus the filmmakers. There's the people in the trenches doing the work, and then there's the people that give them the money to do the work. But those people giving them the money also kind of want to tell them how to do the work, even though they may not be the ones who know what's best to do. So you see that in a lot of films, and it always makes for good tension. I will call out John Bernthal, who played Shane in The Walking Dead. He plays a good guest role as Lee Iacocca. He's very enjoyable to watch as well in this movie, in addition to Matt Damon and Christian Bale, who, by the way, Christian Bale, he is so good. Yeah. Everything he's in, I know he's a very dedicated actor, very method, very serious, but he can just bring a character to the screen in a way where when he's on screen, you just enjoy being with him. Yeah. I loved how he called back in the 80s, soda was referred to as pop. So growing up, I'd say, can I have a pop? Nowadays, it's pretty much, can I have a soda? But he always says, can you get me a fizzy pop? There's always a fizzy pop.
Yeah. He's definitely a quirky character. And one thing that is great about Christian Bale is he's never the same guy in every movie. You know, some actors, they're kind of just the same. It's a different role, but it's always the same guy. You know, Tom Cruise, for the most part, he's kind of the same dude, whether he's, Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible or some other action thing. You know, he's kind of just him. But Christian Bale, you never know what character he's going to be. And he plays a really good, slightly off guy who just happens to be brilliant at driving a car. And the car scenes, I've seen a lot of racing movies, but this one, they did a really great job of just capturing the feel of what it's like to be in the car with them, and also outside as Shelby's watching this race unfold. That dynamic of how you watch the car going around, but not overdoing it because you got to last the whole duration of the race. They did a good job of capturing. For us novices, I'm no racing expert, but I felt like I understood how the race and the whole, how you got to take care of your car all kind of works. So that's what added to it too. It wasn't just a bunch of montages of racing. You actually got in that feel of how you got to make this, this baby, last the race and become the winner. It's great film.
This is the best racing movie I've ever seen, and I'll give it. I haven't seen a lot of racing movies. I've seen some, but I liked this one better than any of the others. Actually, I'll tell you a little story about the sound. I learned this through another friend of mine who's a sound designer. But have you ever wondered how they get the sounds for those engines? Talking about how much you like the Dolby. Do you know how they record that? Because you think about it. You think, well, okay, I'll just put a microphone and next to the engine and drive it down the road. But the problem is you have road noise and you have air, wind. So what I've learned is they have a special building where they have the cars that drive on like where the tires spin on like conveyor belt type cylinders. So the car actually never moves. But then they can get the sound clean because you don't have any kind of road noise to deal with.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, the sound design is great. And, in a racing movie, obviously everything from the shifting to the all that stuff, and then cut back and forth. And the sound is awesome. And like I said, when I saw it in the Dolby Theater, you didn't just hear the sound, but you felt it. You felt it in the pit of your stomach, and it just made that experience the first time watching it that much better. So, and I have to add to this, not only was it a really good character movie, but there was a moment in the film too where I actually found myself a little tear in my eyes, and I couldn't believe it. I was going, that's the last thing I would expect watching a racing movie, that I actually got emotional. And that says a lot, because I don't cry at a lot of movies, but this one got me and I didn't expect it. So another thumbs up for them being able to pull off a scene that actually gets to the heartstrings in an unexpected manner. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Norb's favorite thing to say is he sees a lot of movies and he always says, okay, I'm thinking this is where I'm supposed to be crying, but I'm not.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this time it wasn't like this is the scene where I'm supposed to be crying. It was like, oh my God, I'm crying.
I'm really crying.
What are you doing to me? They got me. So there's heart in this film, but there's comedy, there's action, there's drama, suspense, good guys, bad guys. It's great. So if you haven't seen it, you got to definitely check it out.
Yeah. All right, well, here we are in the show where it's time for the surprise. And since this is a movie about cars, I got a question for you, Norb.
Yeah.
I think you know me pretty well. What's my favorite type of car?
What's your favorite? Oh, geez. Favorite type of car? Yeah. Your favorite is a Toyota Celica.
See, I knew he'd get it. He just had to find it in there.
I didn't know where you're going with it. Yeah. Yes.
So I thought I would share with you, this is actually the very first car I ever had. We'll hold it up there so you can get that focus to work. There we go. This is a 1974 Toyota Celica, and that's me back in the late 80s. And this is the kind of car you just don't see on the road at all. And of course, what do I have to say is now I really wish I still had it. I don't. So that's some pictures I took of me after I'd given it a new paint job, and I put those red stripes on it. Again, I really wish I had this car. And again, I never, ever, ever see this on the road. Maybe someone out there has. If you have, let me know.
I'm sure I was fortunate.
I was fortunate in the 90s to get a new Celica. So this is a picture of the last Celica I ever had. I don't have it now. But what I want to get into a little bit is the car that's behind that Celica. And that is a red Ford Mustang GT.
I'm glad
Norb,
you brought
care
that
to
up.
talk about that at all?
I'm glad you brought that up. I totally forgot to even mention that in here because, we are talking about Fords and fast cars. And yes, there was a time back in my single days when I had a Ford Mustang, a 98 Ford Mustang GT in red and everything like that. And yes, it was the one time in my life where I actually owned a car where I just said, you know what? To heck with practicality, I'm gonna get a car I just want to have. And yes, that was a fun time in my life. I had it for about 5 years. And man, it was fun to drive. I mean, that thing, I hadn't driven a stick before, but this was my first stick shift car. But man, that thing could roar, that thing could hum. Corners like it's on rails. But yeah, it was hard to do shoots, dragging equipment in that tiny little thing, but man, it was a fun car to ride. I do miss driving that. And a quick side note: we were down in Hawaii, our family, and we actually rented a convertible Mustang for the day. Just so I could get that feeling of the day, since I've been in a minivan and stuff for like so many years.
I know, we both now drive minivans.
Yeah, so that's how far we've fallen in terms of the vehicular excitement. My next door neighbor just was showing me his brand new Tesla that he got. It's like the 3 Performance one. It's got all kinds of stuff decked out, tinted and everything. And here I am with my, well, I'll see you while I'm driving around in my Toyota, what's it called again? What's the van? Toyota,
Sienna.
Or Sienna. Yeah, it's so memorable. I forgot the name. Yeah, our Toyota Sienna while he's driving his cool sports car. But hey, I had my time, and it was fun. You had your Celica, I had the Mustang, and that was a fun time back then. When we first got to know each other, we had those cars.
I think the funniest thing about that Mustang was the back seat. That car was not designed for 4 people. It's really designed for 2, and I guess the back seats.
You could put 4 people. Yeah, you could put 4 people in there, but it wasn't meant to be comfortable for 4 people. That wasn't why you drive that car. That car was meant for the sound, the acceleration, and all that stuff, not for comfort. But it was a lot of fun to drive. I miss that car.
Well, it's nice to know, talking about this movie, you actually did have a Ford in your lifetime.
I did have a Ford. But it's not the first Ford. Our family had a Ford Pinto. Back in the 70s, a Ford Pinto, a white one with blue racing stripes. That was also the car I drove for a while. So I've had all different kinds. But yes, thanks for the memories. That's good stuff.
You bet. Glad I'm there to provide them. Well, that is it for the surprise today.
That's good stuff, and a trip down memory lane. But that wraps up our show and our talk about Ford versus Ferrari. If you guys have an idea for a future show, please put it in the comments and tell us what you'd like to hear us talk about next time, and we'll try to do that. I'm Norb.
And I'm Mike.
And we're The Watchmen.
The Men Who Watch. See you next time.
Thanks for watching The Watchmen.
Please click on here to watch other episodes, and be sure to hit that like button too.
And please subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll always be alerted to any future episodes.
It really helps us out, and we appreciate it.
We'll see you next time. And remember, we'll be watching.